Okay, it's Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. It's 4 o'clock, and we're going to start the Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen meeting. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, approval of the minutes, Select Board meeting April 21st, 2021. Select Board emergency meeting April 23rd, 2021. Select Board emergency meeting April 28th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve A, B, and C as read.
Second.
All in favor? All three of us. Item 3, review of treasurer's warrants, payroll 36, 37, and 39, and accounts payable 38 and 40.
Make a motion for A and B as read.
Second.
All in favor? All three of us are in favor. Open session, and we do have a guest today. We haven't had guests in a while. I know this is Phil Martin. Would you, I know you're gonna turn that phone on.
Yes. The reason why that I came here today, because it came to my attention, came as a rumor, and when I called Brady, I guess, I'll call back, bye. Sorry about that.
Do you mind silencing it?
Just turn it off.
That way we'll be able to get
Yeah.
through this, and
We won't have it again.
thank you.
I think they got turned off now. Like I said, when I called Brady, the rumor happened to be true about the dump situation. I tried, and I'm still gonna get a hold of the Dover town office to speak with the town manager or who else that is there. I don't believe, I turned it down, I'm gonna ignore it.
No,
Now,
you have to do something.
you gotta turn it off, or take it, just put it in your car until you're done. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, I think it's done, I'm sorry. Anyway, I called the Dover town office, but I haven't been able to reach the town manager. It seems to me that, from what information that I've received thus far, that the town has opted to go to Dexter. And I don't believe, like I said, I haven't been able to get through to them, but I don't believe that there is a warrant to transfer from Dover to Dexter. Part of that is that I'd like to know why, because I don't believe that there is not much difference in the rate from year to year. I know that it goes up a little bit, but I don't think it goes up to the point that I've transferred to Dexter. Another thing that I'd also like to bring up and to be discussed is about again about the transfer station. I believe that before anything is finalized, that should be brought up to the town meeting and let the citizens of the town decide, not the Board of Selectmen. The last time that I recall that there was a meeting, there were two different times. First time when talking about closing of the dump here in Sangerville, okay? And another time there was a meeting about the dump that my grandfather was willing at the time to invest the money in the Sangerville about trying to find a place for our own trash and take care of it ourselves, like Dover and Dexter have done. The town at the time decided not to do anything about that, and that, if I remember, the citizens was leery on it at the time. Fast forward to today, I don't believe what is going on, should be done without the people's, vote on it. And I don't know when the town meeting is supposed to be. Usually we have it at the end of April. That has not happened yet. But I don't believe, and that should be taking place until after town meeting, when people get to decide. It should not be the selectmen, it should be the town citizens to vote for this. So, my question is to you, to answer what I have mentioned, please, and to explain to me why that hasn't brought as a warrant for the citizens of Sangerville to vote on.
Well, first of all, to be clear, it wasn't a rumor. Your information is correct. We did sign a contract with Dexter for our solid waste disposal. So that is done.
That should be for the town voters, not for the board of selectmen.
Your opinion is perfectly valid, but it has been done. We signed a contract, and to be clear, it wasn't a knee-jerk thing. We've been working on this for over 2 years. And it's been in meetings, it's been on tape, and so, if you're just hearing about it, I can understand your surprise, but it's not a new thing. He mentioned the money. Do you want to speak to?
Well, the only thing I'd like to bring up is, it's a contract. The town does not vote on any other contract. So this shouldn't, it's no different than any contract. It's up to the select board to approve contracts. It's not the citizens.
A good example to that would be like, if we decided not to have C&W plow next year, for whatever reason, it would be our responsibility to make that determination. We wouldn't have a town meeting and they get to decide that we were moving
That
them.
part of it I do understand, but when it has something to do directly with the citizens of Sangerville,
Well, I think
Going
plowing
from-
has
going
a
from-
greater,
huh?
plowing the roads has a greater impact on the citizens, and it's a lot more money.
Mowing our cemeteries,
Paving,
Well, no.
paving.
paving.
Paving, I mean,
Okay, you don't understand where I'm going with this. What I'm going with this is this. The citizens of Sangerville, and I know you three are citizens, goes to Dover. It's like 8 to 9 miles to go to Dover. To go to that's the dump, it's 14, almost 15 miles. That is almost twice the distance as to go to Dover.
Bill, if you look over your right shoulder, you see that map?
Yeah.
That's the town of Sangerville. Do you see the body of water in the middle of the map?
Yeah,
That's Center Pond.
yeah.
Everybody that lives below Center Pond or south of Center Pond now drives less to the dump than they have for the last 30 years. Now you're correct, everybody that lives above Center Pond is now driving further. But I can tell you that I've talked to countless people who are thrilled to now be able to get to the dump in 6, 7, 8, 9 miles. Because for 30 years, they've had a 30-mile round trip. So it just cuts in both directions. Geography it didn't have any role in the decision that we made. And not that it matters necessarily to you, but all of Guilford goes to Dexter, and nobody in Guilford is as close as anyone in Sangerville.
Well, that's what surprised me. Guilford has been going to Dexter since they stopped doing, Guilford. At the time, after I heard that they were going to Dexter, like, what?
have you been to Dexter yet?
I've been to Dexter going, when I used to do projects for my grandfather, I had to drive all the way to Dexter.
Well, it's not all the way, but have you been there recently, to see the facility?
No, not recently.
I think you ought to do that. It's not comparable.
What do you mean?
It's all hot topped, it's paved.
You're undercover. It's a very, very well-run facility. Now that, again, isn't the reason we made the choice, but the feedback that I've been getting in terms, hey, guess what, my car doesn't get muddy. I'm not worried about nails. That kind of feedback is already coming in. So that's kind of a side benefit. But I guess, back to the distance, do you now appreciate that, yes, it's more for some people, but it's less for others?
Yes, I do, I understand your point of view.
Well, it's just, it's just geography.
Right, but let me ask you this. What is the expense from going to Dover and what's the expense from going to Dexter?
That's a reasonable question. I think the biggest reason for us was the original agreement with Dover had a clause in the contract, and this contract preceded all of us, that required Sangerville to pay for the closing expenses of that facility. And no one could tell us what that was gonna be. We knew that in all likelihood, it would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
It could be $1 million.
Things are going.
And then what we found out was, if we did business with Dexter, there was no such clause. It would be kind of like, if you're renting a house from me and I tell you, when I need a new roof, you have to pay for it.
Right.
Okay? At Dexter, we're just a customer.
Right.
To add to that, like I said, we've been working on this for 2 years. Jack Kluge, in a conversation with Selectman Gray, told him that the facility in Dover probably wouldn't be full for 50 or more years.
Probably won't be what?
Full. In other words, they won't have to close it because
Right.
it's at capacity.
Yeah, right.
So that was a real inducement for us, because currently, we're on the hook for 20% of whatever it costs to close that place. So if it's $1 million, it's gonna cost us $200,000. By getting out now, if that place stays open for another 70, 80 years, rather than paying 200 grand, we might have to pay 40 or 35. That's a huge amount of money for Sangerville. So that was probably, when you say that was the major,
It's the
sure.
liability.
it's like a no-brainer
Right.
for us.
Right.
So,
Well, with that expense, the other towns that go off to Dover, would not be like a piece of pie, everybody pays just so much?
It is, but other than Dover, we were the largest piece of the pie.
by
Far,
100%,
yeah.
more than 100%. And the original agreement, and none of us are blaming anybody, when you go nearly 30 years ago, the original agreement, if you read that contract, it sounds as though it's gonna be more of like a district, like our water district. There was supposed to be elected representation from each of the communities so that we could participate in the running of that facility.
Right.
It has never been done that way in the last 20 years.
Okay.
They just run it. They hire whoever they want to work there, they expend their money however they want, which is fine. Dexter does the same thing. The difference is, we're not on the hook for what Dexter spends or doesn't spend. It's just like our plow contract. They come to us at the beginning of the year, they say, this is what it's gonna cost, and there's no unknown cost for the next generation. So that was a huge push for us.
I see a point in both areas. Let me ask you another question, that just dawned on me. What if those clauses in Dover could be removed?
Wasn't an option.
What do you mean?
Wasn't an option, I asked.
They're not even willing to?
No, why would they wanna do that?
Well,
I expressed my concern personally with the town manager of Dover, that this is the #1 conversation about why we're doing what we're doing. And there was no reply from him at all when I stated that. So, it is what it is.
So the board of selectmen in Dover don't agree with that either?
I have no idea, we're not them.
See, that's why then I'm asking, if there's a way that can be either reduced or thrown out completely. Let's say that a person get it thrown out completely, would Sangerville reconsider?
It could be
Because
discussed.
wouldn't that be, I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Wouldn't it be less expensive for Dover compared to Dexter?
Why?
No.
Wait,
Why do you think Dover is cheaper than Dexter?
That's why I'm asking, because I don't know, I don't pay the
No,
bills. you know,
no. This whole thing started 2 years ago because Dexter actually, they did not solicit us. But as a result of a different conversation, we became aware that Dexter would allow us to go there for about $10,000 less per year than what we had been spending at Dover Foxcroft. That is what got the ball rolling. When we went to Dover Foxcroft and said, look, we're spending X, and we really, I don't think the three of us at that point really appreciated the legacy costs that we were dealing with. And Dover just said, sorry, that's the way it is. The price is the price. So we gave them, because under the terms of the contract, we're required to give them a 365-day notice that we're going to leave. So we took, again, we took that contract, we gave it to the town's attorney, we made decisions based on that information. We are definitely on the hook for the legacy costs. Our attorney thinks, yep, you're gonna have to pay that, whatever it is. And so we gave our notice, we're now free agents. We can go anywhere we want. Now, that's a year ago. 2 years ago, we give our notice.
2 years.
1 year later,
Yep.
we're free agents. Dover comes back to us, and all of a sudden, they're willing to lower their price.
After
What?
They're willing to lower their price after we've given our 1 year notice. All of these years, they've been charging us $10,000 more than Dexter.
Okay.
But after we've given our notice, they come back and they've lowered their price. He actually gave us the impression that it had to do with, he'd figured the ratio wrong or something.
Yeah.
But then, I think he kind of backed away from that.
Yeah.
yeah,
But anyway, so we stayed with them for another year. We said, okay, it's gonna be cheaper, we'll stay for another year. This year comes, oh, let me back up. We will stay with you for another year, but we're not gonna redo our 1 year notice. He agreed, no, you're out, you don't have to redo your notice.
We're not gonna redo our contract.
Correct.
right.
Okay.
So, year comes, we have our birthday, now it's the beginning of this fiscal year, and they raise the price back up to where they were before. We decided, okay, we're done. And then we did some research into this. We did not know that that facility was likely to stay open 70 or 80 years without us. The longer it stays open, the better it is for us to not be there. Because
Because we're not filling it. The
Our
town
percentage
of, the
keeps getting
town of
smaller.
Sangerville is not filling it for those,
we're the second biggest contributor, so we're also gonna have the second biggest bill, and every year that goes by, our bill gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So, it
when it
was,
closes.
And the other thing to remember too is that, all of our trash used to go to Perk. That facility is nobody's trash, well, not many people's trash, I guess is the best way, goes there anymore. Everything was supposed to go to Fiberite, the new facility.
Right.
That facility only came online for a short amount of time,
And
and
it
it
closed
closed. So ever since that has happened, the majority of all of our trash goes to landfill. The more trash goes to landfill, the quicker that all of these facilities are gonna close. So that's the other piece to kinda, about this. It's why the timelines of how things are gonna last, nobody really truly knows the number, it's a crapshoot, really at best, to guess. And the sooner we can get away from it, the better off we are, so.
One other question that just occurred to me from what you said. Let's say a year from now, Dover decides, hey, we want Sangerville back, we'll do it at a lower rate and do a contract for 5 years at a lower rate. Would that be something that the town would consider?
we're not locked into any, we have an annual contract, so every year, just like the plow contract or paving, we're gonna do what's best for Sangerville.
Oh, I understand it.
So it's that simple. That's exactly what we'll do.
100%, you know, I do. I'm just kind of shocked at the way, and I think that you understand where I'm going with this. I'm kind of shocked at the way that the town, I never seen no notices or anything, since I haven't been involved with the town anymore, that I know even less. And, for something like this, it just bring up as a rumor to begin with, and, I didn't know that it was actually gonna be until I talked to Brady the other day, said, yeah, as of May 1st, that's what's happening.
We posted around town, it's posted on, it was put in the papers, I mean, it's on Facebook. We've done everything that we can do to try
Yeah, I
to
mean,
verify.
And I haven't seen that, so that's why it's probably,
Yep.
And right, and it's not a rumor, it was the, people were reading the information in different places, Robinsons and all over, or wherever we've posted. And so it wasn't a rumor, it was fact, and that's,
And if you haven't, and a lot of people don't, if you haven't been following our minutes, you wouldn't necessarily know this. The Observer doesn't cover us, or the Gazette doesn't cover us. Unless somebody's following the minutes of our meetings, they're not gonna know any of the things that we do.
right.
But we've been working on this for 2 years. So,
And we are very transparent, all of our minutes are online, everything is recorded. It's
audio
online.
and written.
this is being recorded.
And we don't have to do that, I mean, we do that just for the benefit of everybody in the town.
And I have people who listen to every single meeting.
Yep.
And some people who don't ever check in at all, so it's just,
Right. Yeah, because I haven't, since I left, been doing very much on that. I got only one more question, that is separate from the dump. I heard, and maybe that you can clarify for me, that the town is considering building another town office? And if so, where's that thinking of being built?
again, that's probably about 2 years.
Pictures or there's drafts out on the wall.
There's some drafts out on the wall, and right now, I would say probably our prime candidate for location is at the Veterans Memorial Park. We own a lot more land there than you actually see utilized.
And what's gonna happen with this building?
That's totally separate issue. We own it. I mean,
Right.
it's nothing. So they don't necessarily have anything to do with it. This building, what prompted all that, this conversation 2 years ago, was this building has serious foundation issues. So much so that our insurance company is not working very well with us. I think we got a little break because of the pandemic. They haven't been back last year, but I think when things clear up, they're gonna be pushing us hard again. So,
Well, all I know is when I was here, especially toward the end, and I was asked to look into it in the cellar and stuff. But I know on that end, it's kind of, did that have to be repaired? Besides that, of knowing, I knew very little, if any, of the, foundation issue, because that's been worked on years ago.
yeah,
That's why, so that's why I didn't pay as much attention to that as I was over here, because I was asked at the time to pay attention over here.
yep. We've had engineers in and look at the existing
Yeah,
situations.
that's why that I said, do you know when the project's gonna start?
No, we haven't, no.
We're far from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is really tentative right now. It's just, we've begun the process.
Then how come you can't build it next door with the old school?
We don't own that
We don't
property.
own that.
You don't own the school anymore? I mean, the property there?
For, what, 3 years?
3 years.
At least, yeah.
We didn't tear that down.
No.
The owner did.
Who's the owner now?
Brian Howard.
Who?
Gordon
Brian.
Is it Gordon Construction
I
or
think
Brian
Brian-
Howard?
Brian.
I think
Oh,
Brian
it is,
personally
okay.
owns it.
Okay.
He started an LLC, I think, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Under LLC.
Deed.
I didn't know that, so.
This has been an informative day.
Yeah,
I know that it's been an eyesore for a long time and that the town was trying to get rid of it, so. Yeah, I didn't know that the town did not own that property anymore.
No, it's been quite a while.
And last thing, I noticed that this apartment house here, is vacant. Do you know what's gonna happen with that?
That's not ours.
No idea. Just another building in town.
There's a sale sign out front, right? Yep.
Do you feel like you have a better understanding of the situation with the recycling facilities?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I have a little more of an understanding on it.
Good.
It's like, it kinda blew me away because it was like, what? You know what I mean? It just, to me, it came out of the blue.
Sure, you hadn't heard anything about it. Well, if you're talking to people, we'd appreciate it if you'd share with them what you learned.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned it quite a bit.
Good, there we go.
I learned it quite a bit.
Okay, we're gonna move
Yeah,
on.
that's pretty much all that I came for, because I was very concerned, because I was ready to try to see what we can do for the town to continue going to Dover, because of the way that it's been for years. And I did not know, this is my last question, then I'll get ready to go. I did not know that maybe Sangerville would be willing, if Dover and Dexter were willing, to split it in half.
That isn't anything we even consider.
No.
There's no way to do that. I mean,
There's really no reason to do it.
Well, you told me to look at the map. If we looked at the map and split it in half,
Right,
then the half that's closer toward Dexter would benefit them and go to Dexter.
right.
It
You
wasn't,
still
but that
have-
wasn't a conversation for the last 30 years for all
Yeah.
the citizens in our town that we've inconvenienced.
Now the people on the French's Mills Road have the same situation as the people on the Dowdy Hill Road had for the last 30 years. So now, after
just
30
what?
years of this, we'll talk about splitting it in half. I'm just kidding. But that, you see what I mean? It's
Yeah.
all just relative,
Yeah.
so.
I understand. So what do I do now?
Get a dump sticker.
I'd get a dump sticker, and you're gonna like your experience there, is my guess. And I would also, not that I have anything to do with these folks, but don't hesitate to stop into P&L. It's a really nice little store.
Yeah, I've been to P&L before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll let you
All
guys
right,
get
thank
back
you.
to your
Thank you.
business.
Thank you
And
for
Thank
coming.
you very, very much. And, you guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
On
Rodney,
to,
you wanna call me tomorrow, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
item 5, old business, salt and sand.
Okay, Dale asked me about what would happen if we moved the salt shed on the
Oh, yeah.
property. So I finally figured out, I'm a little slow, where to ask these questions. And on this Maine's website, these are frequently asked questions by towns and counties about sand and salt piles. So, our town is going to build a new sand salt building on a different site than where our current pile is located. Can we do this? Contact the DEP for site approval for all new salt storage areas. The town may build a sand and salt building on the same contiguous property on which the sand salt pile now sits without further restriction or DEP approval. For all other locations, the site must meet the criteria and DEP rules. In general, new sand and salt storage buildings should not, A, overlie significant sand and gravel aquifers, B, be within 300 feet of a private well, C, lie within the source water protection area for public water supply. Next question, our town salt pile ranked as priority 4 or 5 pile, and we don't want to move it to a new location in the foreseeable future. Does the town need to do anything special? Now, I didn't know what these rankings were, so I had to keep looking. I found that we
What
are
rank are we?
5.
All right.
5, interesting.
So, 4 and 5 is a good thing to be in this case.
I was kinda worried.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
either
5 is
really
a
bad
high
or really
number.
No, it's really good. So, do we need to do anything special? No, the town is not obligated to construct a sand or salt storage building as long as the sand and salt pile remains at its current site and the sand and salt pile and site is exempt from groundwater for classification laws. However, both the DEP and the DOT recommend the town take measures to minimize the impact of the sand/salt pile, as the town is not exempt from civil litigation regarding property damage or salt contaminated drinking water wells. So,
Like feeders is the.
Yeah, it's right at her road.
Supply,
It's right at her road.
So does that mean the
Yeah.
beginning houses on your road, do they still have town water?
I don't think so.
I thought the valve was right there at
yes.
the corner.
Paul Westbury has town
They
water.
do?
No,
Paul
okay.
Westbury has town water,
Yep.
yes.
So everybody within, I mean, everybody's on town water within anywhere
Yeah.
up through there.
But not
And-
anybody down Thomas Road.
Yeah,
Sure.
or if
But
you,
you're well past that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
300 feet.
Yes.
if you headed west on our property line, you would then, I think, be getting into an area that does not have town water.
Right. Beyond the swamp.
Correct.
I don't think we own past.
I said at our property line.
Like rough
'Cause
trees,
we don't
right?
go to the.
Oh,
We don't
us,
go
yes.
to the power line.
Okay.
I thought we only went to where the ATV trail crossed.
Correct, but that's right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
So I would say anything beyond that, I don't think it has town water, does it?
No, you're 100% correct.
So wells beyond that,
Yep.
which I'm not sure there is much before you.
Oh, you're up there. I
Yeah.
mean, you're well above the 300 feet.
So I finally found somebody to actually talk to.
Oh,
And
we got ahead of ourselves.
But-
All right.
No,
I
but
gotta
she said
say-
the same thing.
Yeah.
Basically, that we're not required to meet all of those standards as they were listed. However, in terms of litigation and in terms of liabilities, if somebody with a well were to complain, we would be on the hook.
Sure.
Which is true now.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's just right now, we're pretty much surrounded by town.
correct. So
Reservoir water.
if you were to move it on the same piece of property, you would want to look really hard at
Wells.
wells, streams, running bodies of water. But the things that they do require these days is a pad under your pile, and they don't require building any longer, just the cover. But you have to manage any runoff or migration of salt and sand to any other places. So it's doable. The lady I talked to, she was talking more, she said, well, you might want to ask your risk management people because they're going to tell you different things than the DEP, but the DEP is going to tell you as a ranked 5 site, if you stay on your property, you're probably in good shape.
Well, it's not, I mean, obviously right now, there's not a big plan here,
No,
but
there's no-
it's very nice to know what you found out, that we have a lot more options than what
We have
thought
some
had.
flexibility.
So,
That back access might be of more use than we thought,
yes.
conceivably. So,
Conceivably.
okay, anything else on that?
No, but I have to order salt, so
Oh, there you go.
Actually, in Stan, when was,
I haven't even put the bid out.
okay.
I sat down to do it yesterday and got interrupted, but I will put it out to everybody who I put it out to last year. I'm going to go with the 1,500 unless you think I ought to go with the 12, which we decided was the minimum.
I don't personally mind a little extra on that. I mean,
1,500 as far as sand.
Yeah, as opposed to, we did 2,250.
Right.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, shouldn't that be covered again for the summer, so that the rain doesn't race through it?
Yeah, I can buy another.
Well, it would be nice if we could smoke out and get our sand in, so we don't cover it.
Right, so you have to recover,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
So actually, I mean, we're not locked into a bidding process. You know who put in for last year or whatever, if you just had time to reach out on a phone call and just ask them if they're interested and
And do
go
it.
from there.
The product was excellent.
Yes.
Right.
What I wanna say, the scale was also excellent, so, I don't think,
We were happy
Yeah,
with it.
bring it to us
Happy.
and-
Everybody's really happy.
Yeah.
I didn't field a lot of complaints this past year, which is new.
I know Warren was happy, he didn't
Yep.
have to jump
Climb
in the
into
back of the truck
his
once.
hopper.
We would have to have for me personally, you would have to come at us with a scary difference in numbers
Yeah.
before
Problem
I
is-
would wanna go with somebody else.
Right, and then you have to vet that
Right,
product.
and you don't know you're actually gonna get what they
Ex-
sent.
But that's what I'm saying,
Exactly.
it would have to be a huge difference in number before I would even wanna consider it.
Right, right,
I'll
and
check.
we know
Yeah.
that product. and we know,
We know the scale.
yep,
And as far as, you know, I think last year was a very, very easy winter, just based on our yard cleanup. Typically, I've got a power broom, that all gets swept into the bucket of the tractor. There was zero of that.
To do.
That's how little sand.
wow.
So it was a
Yeah.
really off year.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hesitate to bring it back up to where. we
But
think
the
it
other
should be.
thing though too, Mike, and I'm not sure, I didn't travel your road much, but I know on my road that I definitely noticed that in years past, with the other sand we were using, is they'd sand it and the ice would still stay there. I mean, it would almost have to be above freezing before it would ever start to loosen up.
Yeah.
And with this sand, it didn't do that. I mean,
No.
It was effective, what they put
Very
down
quick.
was effective.
And it wasn't nearly as dusty when it
No.
finally dried out.
yeah.
It's the same mess that's out here in this parking lot from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That slurry, kind of loamy. So, anyway, I guess we all like our sand.
Okay, well, that will save me some work.
We're happy with it.
Keep it simple, it's easy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
B, assessing and E911.
Okay, we've talked about this several times now, but as I do E911, I come across what I would call assessing issues, buildings that are not on tax cards, and I'm trying to find a way to make this process flow easier, and so that if I'm out doing E911 and I see something, I can report it and that gets back to our assessor, and or if our CEO is out doing something, those records already come into us, and they used to sit in a basket, and they used to sit there for 6 to 8 months and then be picked up. And now the town clerk just takes them, scans them, sends them directly to Hamlin's, and so that's a much easier process. But the more I look at and do E911, the more issues I find, and I'm not sure how to make this work better. And so I was kind of reaching out to you to see if you guys have some ideas as well. These are some old cards. I just wanted you to see what the tax cards look like. And if you'll notice on here, on the left-hand side, there's a place to write next year for review. You'll find that most of the cards don't have a next year to review.
Okay.
Some of them have general notes, but you'll say like, was sold in 2012, filed for a permit, check in 2013, but you never see whether or not
It was done.
it was done. The pictures on the cards stay the same for many years running. That's one of the, I reached out to Josh on that one and said, at least every time you look at the building, could you just change the picture, and then we would know that
It's been updated.
it's been looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, these are
because-
old, but these are actually current, right?
These are old. There are like 4 or 5 of these in each file. And I took old ones out so that if I spilled my coffee on them or scrunched them in my seat while I was driving around or dropped them in a mud puddle, it wouldn't be the end of the world because they were 6 years old and could be thrown. So, I don't know, I'm looking for ways to make this more accurate.
Well, have you gotten any guidance from Hamlin?
I just had a short conversation with Josh. He really didn't want to take pictures every time he went out, but I see that it's so much easier now. I mean, we've got digital cameras, you take a picture, you've updated it. There's things like, of course, Google Earth. I mean, you don't even have to get in the vehicle to see where you might need to start.
We've vetted all this stuff
Yeah.
so much. And this honestly, and I mean, I know it's not an option, so please, I'm not, but that's, everything you're saying is really why we were driven with a thought or concept of bringing our tax cards, getting the upgrade, having everything in-house, and trying to figure out a way how to do assessing in-house.
Yeah.
Because it's, everything you're saying is just, we couldn't, I'm not saying there's not an answer, I'm just saying, I'm not sure how to.
Well, I just think that our CEO's out there, I'm out there, you guys are on the roads. If we all worked together, that,
We could improve things.
we could improve things. Just putting I saw one card where it said, check back in 2013, and it looked like it hadn't been checked since,
I'll tell you, my bigger concern right now, and as far as the assessing conversation, is what some of these properties are selling for.
I know.
I'm really worried what's gonna happen in, as far as our overall assessment in a few years, cause, I mean, everything you look at is we're a third of what they're selling for.
Yeah, I was just looking,
It's
I'm
crazy.
still looking at Center Pond, trying to get those fire lanes to actually line up with what road names we have, and so I was looking at some places, and I found several off the West Road that had, one that just sold for $272,000, but is evaluated at 103, one that sold for 234, but again was close to the 100 mark. You just pointed out to me coming in, one that just went on the market that we saw that's listed as a little camp, and it's
274.
listed with land and camp, it's like 78 evaluated.
And it's listed for 274?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that we're in the middle of a crazy real estate run-up, and it's nationwide, and maybe in 2 years, some of these will backslide.
I know, but what I'm afraid of is like when Josh was here, and they pull these numbers off house sales, that's what gonna base our percentages.
Yeah, and it's gonna be running 2 years behind, so by the time things are falling,
Yeah, you're up at the peak.
yeah, you
Correct.
hit the peak and everybody else,
Yep.
yeah. The other thing is, I was looking at rentals. If you go to these rentals, they don't have to go out and look at these buildings, because if you look at like some of these rentals on the pond, they're laid out for
Oh, yeah, yeah.
every
Oh,
room,
yeah.
what they
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, all the amenities.
all the things
Yeah, yeah.
that they would check off
Well,
on.
it's the same thing if you follow the real estate.
And the real estate as
You know, they
well.
list a house, there's 30 pictures of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
a
you have a
good time
very
to-
detailed understanding of that.
description
Yeah.
of the property.
Yeah, and I just looked at one that not only had all the pictures, but it had all the property details. It
Oh,
had,
okay.
all the things for the inspections that had occurred so they could sell it. I mean, it had every.
But I'm a little, I'll admit that I'm a bit confused on how this whole process works, because Josh said to us, every year, he does at least 25% of the community, and that gets updated. And so I took that to mean it gets updated in the sense of its assessed value is brought up to where it should be. But now I think what he was telling me is, if someone added a garage bay, I update that. But he doesn't take the cabin that's at
Adjust.
63 and bring it up to,
No.
200.
No, not until it's sold.
well, not even then. That's a reval for the entire community to get that number to come up. And that's expensive.
Right.
But when you're going from 60 to 260, the reval would pay for itself in very little time.
Sure.
So I'm partly, I think, and I could be wrong, but I thought when he did 25%, 25% was brought up. That's not what's happening.
Correct. And I also thought when you did 25%, you systematically did 25%. So every 4 years, you did
Right,
10.
that it was 100%.
Right.
But if
But
I
it's-
put a deck on my house this year, and I put a steps on next year, and I do
Right.
a garage door, I keep being that building
You're
permit.
12 years out to have it all assessed.
Well, I'm always in that,
Right,
every
right.
year, I'm in that assessment line and
Sure.
not,
Somebody else
And
did it.
not being assessed.
sure, and somebody
Right.
else isn't at all, because I'm taking up that 25% because I
Correct.
keep having a building permit.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. And there again, you want people to do the permit, but
Sure.
it's not working the way we think or want it to.
And it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, as we learned, because if we bring up our assessed values, yeah, it's more revenue for the town in the sense that people are paying their fair share. But it doesn't change our budget, and it might change significantly our contribution to the county
County
and the school.
school. Yes.
So it's a careful balance.
Yes. I mean, obviously, we don't have to do anything specific today, but I just worry about 2 to 3 years from now, when you have all these houses that are selling that way, what that's gonna do to our overall, when he runs his numbers. I think it's gonna throw us off so much.
The change that we made with lakefront property, we changed the value, by doing an entire class, we were able to do that without a total reval. I don't know if there's more latitude around that process or not, but,
Maybe, I mean, we could ask.
yeah, I don't know. And I don't know that we even want to.
Correct.
Because like I said, the budget's the budget. If you raise everybody the same, nobody's taxes go up. But your mill rate goes down.
Correct.
And your participation in the county and the school is gonna go up.
Yep.
So guess what? Your taxes will go up.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So it needs to be equitable, but you don't wanna get too far ahead of your neighbors.
That's right, it's just a.
No, what you really need is you almost need to, you know, a couple of your fellow towns are gonna do it at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, you might just as well jump in.
Right,
But, you
That's
know, if the neighboring towns the same size or same as us aren't thinking about it, I don't think we should be the first ones to jump, so.
It's like all that clean electricity that's going through Parkman now. I'm sure that was a nice windfall to get it, but it impacted them
It did.
pretty significantly in terms of the school and the county. Anyway, it's kind of confusing.
Well, that's kind of the beauty part about this, because between that and what we've done, it's definitely made us more knowledgeable about how all those moving parts really come together.
Yep.
Because
How it all works.
before that happened, I wouldn't have really put that together.
The other thing is,
Explained that way, I think, in the past to us.
we're very conscientious about mill rate.
yes, we are.
I mean, because we, you know, that's kind of it's become kind of a measure, you know, if Milo's at 24 mill rate, we don't wanna be at 24 mill rate, we would rather be at 16. So, maybe if these valuations are off as much as we think they could be, our mill rate might really be 11. But, all the give and take, so, anyway. As far as your question, that's really not what you, but if you run into an extra bay on a garage, I think just call them and say, hey, you know, there's 3 bays on this garage, there used to be 1.
What's going on? I'm looking for you going.
And that's just found money, really, I mean, in some cases, you'll find whole buildings. I
think
honestly,
the assessment piece is really, it's interesting. And
It is
it
interesting.
is something that I really feel that I get about that much of a grasp
Yeah.
on the whole thing about.
you could really, if you were into it, we're all the assessors.
Yep.
You could sit at home with your Google and your Jeep, and you could be on a quest every weekend to see how much revenue you could find for the town. And not hurting anybody, just finding buildings that just haven't been reported.
Honestly,
Yep,
yeah.
get on your e-bike and see if you can find 500 grand.
You take the e-bike, I'll take the Jeep.
All right. Did we help you?
Well, just keep thinking about it.
Yep.
I keep running, you know, these things.
You almost sound like you're talking yourself into bringing it in-house.
I know, that's what I was gonna ask you.
But I didn't get to say that out
Yeah, I
loud.
was gonna
I
ask
don't
you.
I don't have an assessor's license. I could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, but you have to hire a new town manager. I'll be your assessor.
But honestly, there again, back to what it's 20%. And you honestly,
Yeah.
doing what you've done on E911, you've already done more than 20%. I guarantee it.
you're probably
I
right.
mean,
I
so
don't-
when you say that, you don't have time, I think you've already spent, if you added it up, you probably already spent more time trying to straighten it out
Yeah.
than if it was actually, what?
I just like a process that if I straighten it out,
Right,
Sure.
right.
it stays straightened out.
Right, and
You
it's
know,
accurate,
you
and
know.
you know it's done, and so a lot of times it is. I mean, we've talked about that in the past, and we're not opposed to talking about it again,
You know, and
by
I-
any means.
And I'm not saying that Hamlin's doing a bad job, I'm saying this is complicated and
Right.
we all need to work together.
Right.
And how do we get the best result out of?
No, I don't think Hamlin's doing bad. I just think personally, my understanding of the process was pretty weak.
Yeah.
So.
And the further I get into it, the
More you realize, yeah.
more like, yeah, you got a tough job. So,
Okay, item 6, new business.
I didn't put anything.
Okay. Item 7, town manager's report.
All right, the easy one is I've ordered all the cemetery flags and they've come in. I've reached out to Willie Williams, but I haven't heard back from him. We need our flagpole repaired for the memorial. I'm not sure if I can repair it, if I'm just gonna have to buy a new one, but, I'm sure he.
The one at the,
At the
Yep.
memorial. I'm sure he can, give me an answer on that. Jody, if you want to, we'll pick a time and,
We'll put some flags out?
split up some flags and,
Good,
go from there.
okay.
The Vetter Camp, this has been interesting.
There was a lot of activity there this weekend.
Well, supposedly they cleaned it up.
Well, I wouldn't say they were there that long, but.
they're not done yet.
Well,
They
no,
started.
I'm told that everything that was in the water is out of the water, and, so I was gonna ask you, is the Anderson Road,
Oh, yeah, you can get it in.
I can get in, either I'll go in, or next time you go in,
Yeah, I'll-
just check on them, because,
They were
Guardian, who's the company with that's in charge of care, has been given permission to at least remove the stuff in the water.
I know they cut trees, they had a chipper,
Did they?
yeah, they had something for a mower, I heard a lot of rocks flying, so
Wow.
I don't think it went well. I
Now how
don't,
many windows are broken?
they were probably only there 2 hours, so they wasn't there that long.
They probably won't do any substantial carpentry work. I mean, just cleanup is what I was getting from her. However, I wasn't talking to Guardian, I was talking to BLB Resources. They are a company that sells HUD properties, and they are one of the company listed in Maine to sell properties. And so I started with them. And they told me that the reason Vetter hasn't sold is there's a title issue. And they had the property and then they couldn't have the property because of the title issue. And when I got to explain to them, well, title isn't gonna mean a whole lot when your camp falls into the pond, and A, you're gonna have to remediate, and B, you're gonna lose all that value. And he's like, well, I'll get in touch with Guardian and HUD. And I've been through this process, and I talked to this poor guy at BOB for 4 or 5 times before I ever talked to anybody at Guardian. When Guardian didn't call me back like he kept telling me they were going to, I called the HUD hotline he gave me. But they gave me Guardian's number under a different name,
Oh,
and sent me
What a
right
runaround.
back through the process
Oh,
again.
my goodness.
It was only today that I talked to a lady at Guardian who said they had cleaned it up. And I can't get anybody to tell me what the title issue is.
Huh.
Well, if you go on registry of deeds,
Oh, I know.
it's there.
There's at least two there.
Yeah. It's been
I
a
was-
good place, they
I
have
was
clear deeds.
reading that
So, I don't know.
HUD deeds have to be made out to the secretary of whatever HUD falls under, secretary of,
Housing and Urban Development.
well, yeah, but housing and urban development, I don't know, they're not agriculture, FHA is agriculture, but whatever bigger entity they fall under, it's supposed to be, and it wasn't, so I'm not sure if that's a title issue. The rest of it looks pretty clear cut to me and pretty straightforward, so I'll keep checking on that. The lady at HUD told me that it was in the process of being sold. But nobody will,
And HUD pays the taxes every year?
yep, taxes
Interesting.
are paid, but the building is falling down and.
Sure.
If it all wasn't falling in the pond, I wouldn't have brought it up.
Right.
And I'll go look, but even, the plywood is off the front, so now it's all the insulation is
Oh,
right there.
yeah,
And it's,
yeah.
that upper level is literally, I'm very certain if you stood inside the camp and you go like this outside the upstairs window, you can drop your soda bottle right straight down into the water.
Wow.
It actually hangs out over.
Is, even in its current disrepair, I bet it would surprise us what that thing would bring on the open market.
Yeah.
Well, the conversation I had with this guy at BOB is like, he's like, is it a tear down? I said, it's fast approaching that it's gonna be a 100% tear down, and your value is much higher if you sell it now, because
That footprint.
That's right,
that
that's right.
footprint is still there, and you can, and he understood.
The problem is when it gets to the point that it is a tear down, that property really isn't worth a whole lot, because now you're going to the
Right.
100-foot setback.
That's right.
Yeah, no,
That's
COVID
right.
changes everything.
But I think the way that property does this, I don't know if they.
Even have 100 feet to come back?
They may, I think it's very narrow.
It's
So I'm
really
not
in the
sure.
town's interest that that doesn't happen.
Correct.
Right, so, I mean, I keep at them, but they keep giving me
Yeah.
more, and it's like, would you, so you talk to the people who are supposedly licensed to sell it, but can't tell the titles, they talk to Guardian, well, we're supposed to be taking care of it, but,
Bureaucracies.
yeah.
Unreal.
So,
Unreal.
that is a big round.
Okay, item 8,
The
road
post-
commissioner.
The posted notices have all come down.
Nice.
Most of them came down over a week ago. There were a couple that we needed to wait a little longer on until some wet spots dried up. But we can now start working on all our summer projects.
Bridie's question, the grading of the roads,
Grading is underway,
okay,
but I didn't
okay.
specify a timeline then. You know, anytime it does this.
Yep,
But it is underway.
okay.
I'm having C&W do this first grading,
Okay.
And we're doing all gravel roads.
all gravel roads.
Okay.
And I've authorized Chris to put in on a couple places a few loads of gravel because he's like, I can't
I can't grade,
do anything.
can't grade
you know.
nothing.
And you reported to him the fabric is
Yeah.
up on Thomas,
Yeah,
is exposed,
yeah.
okay.
So that'll probably be a place where he'll have to have some gravel to.
Right, and if not, he's gonna be dragging some
And I'm
fabric.
chasing him for bills so that I can keep an eye on this.
Moving on to item 9, MRC and State of Maine.
Okay, MRC, I sent you their letter. The sale looks like it's gonna go through. I haven't read the letter in detail, but you all have copies of it, so that's moving forward. And we'll just have to wait and see how the rest of the process goes. And the state of Maine contacted me, it was DOT, because of the work that's gonna be done out here on 23, and I need to get a notice up on probably the website and Facebook, so that any landowners can notify the DOT if they have any questions. And I will do that.
What are they
tomorrow
going
and
to
Wednesday.
do?
Mostly just a shim from down
Oh, okay.
through town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Where they did that other piece out, they're just gonna do a
Mm-hmm.
skim coat. And I think those are the only correspondences.
Request for additional agenda items. 11, Selectmen's concerns.
I got a phone call, and a couple of issues. One, same sort of, similar story that Mr. Martin was talking about. And basically had the same conversation that we had with Mr. Martin. And mostly people uninformed. And because they don't get the information from the right people. And mostly it's, they don't want to drive to Dexter because it's an inconvenience for them. So I explained exactly what Mike explained, that now there are other people that are delighted. And I've spoken to people that are delighted. So that was pretty much put to bed. The other issue that has come up is town meeting, and not knowing why we're not having town meeting. I did explain that it was because of COVID, and once we can comply with the proper venue and space, that. But one of the issues that was brought to my attention was the invocation. And that it was a violation of, should not be part of our governance to have an invocation. And shouldn't be on our warrant. I did look at our annual report. It isn't an article.
No, it's not.
It's not a warrant article. It's an item that
It's a lot like the pledge.
right.
Tradition.
It's tradition. We didn't add it. I don't see any reason to remove it unless or we could put it to, we could make a warrant article as to who wants to continue having an invocation. I mean,
But you could do the same thing with the pledge.
Sure.
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah.
I mean,
I throw them both in the same one.
you could say,
yeah, but then it's split, you know, some people wanna say the pledge to the flag, but don't wanna say the pledge, have, it's a,
Well, you're not gonna make anybody stand up and say the pledge. You're not
No.
gonna make anybody bow their head and,
right,
I mean,
no, in fact, you don't even have to come into the town meeting, because the way, first thing we do is we pick the moderator. And then I think the schedule, the next thing was
is
the
exactly,
invocation.
is the invocation comes in.
So you could
directly
pick the
after.
moderator, you could leave the room
Yeah.
if you wanted to.
Correct.
And,
Sure.
sure.
You could,
Just sign in and.
but we could make it,
An article.
we could make an article.
It'd be interesting how many other towns around have it.
They don't, well, you said that
Well, it's Dexter's council meetings, they start every single one with an invocation.
Really?
Yeah.
But I did speak with, well, I know Dover does not, and, you know, have spoken to people in Dover and said, I can't believe that Sangerville does that. There's no place in an town meeting to do that. That's, and there's a group of people that have a problem with it. So what do? You know, they're not coming in and talking to us about it.
It's kinda interesting, it's the only time I've heard about it.
Is that right?
I've never heard about it.
I heard a similar, well, I'll have to check it out. I heard a similar type concern, and I really couldn't get the person to explain clearly as to what the issue was. I think it might be this.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna go back and see if that's indeed
Well,
what it was, but.
I did press further as far as our venue being, Grace, Bible.
That I have heard,
Right.
not recently, last year I heard.
Right, but, and when, you know, as far as church and state, the separation of church and state, and that this particular person that I spoke with said that then the layer on top of that is the pastor then saying the invocation and.
It's okay for him to pray in the fire station, but it's not okay for him to pray.
It was not okay for him to pray
Oh,
anywhere, over our town meeting. So, but that was the rub with regard to up at Grace.
Yeah, my argument is we're holding it in their recreational room that was built on as part of their school facility when they had one. We aren't going to have it in the sanctuary.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that we didn't hold it earlier, because we could have divided people, we could have people in the sanctuary,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
in the community rec room, but I didn't think anybody would want, I mean, I thought that was gonna tip people over the
Sure.
But
line.
I'm guessing they would let us use the facility and forego the invocation.
Or a question, would they?
Yeah, that guess was a question.
Yeah,
Uh,
would they?
I will ask
I
Pastor
can't
Ray.
imagine they wouldn't, I
even-
mean, we're just running the space.
yeah.
My only thing is this coming to light because we use that location?
I don't know, I'm not sure, but no, I mean, this person said every year it
Really bothered them.
really bothered them. And that person is not the only person that there is you know, that went through all the different agnostic, atheist, Jewish, that doesn't include any of those people, that invocation.
So the answer is to either go broad and get everybody you can think of to do an invocation, or just don't do it.
Correct, correct.
I mean, I don't think it's an absurd comparison. If someone said, listen, you know, I find the serving of animal products repulsive, I'm a vegan.
Right.
You had chop suey there. Why
Right.
should I have to even witness that? You know, would we say, okay, no more dinners? Because you guys,
I hear you.
we,
Yeah, no,
you could really upset some people.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, if there was a petition that came to the select board and said, we don't want any more food for all these various reasons, we would put it on the warrant. I don't, I suspect they would still want food, but I don't know.
So anyway, those are the two, those are the issues, that we discussed.
Do you want to just move to a warrant article, or do you want to ask
I think personally, I wanna talk to some people.
people to participate and
Yeah.
come in and tell us?
Yeah, I'm just
Or
curious.
do a petition, or?
A petition would be ideal. If somebody came to us with a petition, then
It's a no-brainer.
that's a no-brainer. It goes on the warrant and
Yeah.
that's easy. And it shows that, you know, they're sincere.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, petition, you don't even put it on the warrant, we just don't have it on the town report. I mean, we
Well,
don't have-
Well, no,
the
because
petition
how-
goes to the warrant
That
by
then-
definition.
True, but I'm just, but if you had, I didn't mean as in a formal petition, but if you actually had an outreach of a bunch of people that actually came in and expressed a concern about doing it, we could just, we're not doing it anymore. We could put it on there for a warrant, but I mean, we don't have to, we could cancel it either way.
You could then end up with about the same number of people
Yes.
saying, we've had the invocation for 130 years.
Right,
And
Yep.
so
Right.
then you're,
That's the problem.
so, I'm not married to this position, but my inclination would be to turn it into a warrant article where the town votes as to whether they want the invocation today. And if it passes, then they'll get their invocation. If it doesn't, they won't.
majority rules.
Yep.
Ask Pastor Ray if that works for him.
That would be a good first step.
But I think the broader question is that invocation, you know, whether we could use that facility, his venue, without an invocation,
Correct.
if they're intimately
Right.
connected.
That's the question. Yeah.
Right, because it's not up to him.
No, he'll have to
He's
put
a town member and.
Well, it is up to him in the sense that he could say, no, I'm not.
Right, but it's, but you.
Do they rent that space out to anybody else?
What did you say,
They
Dan?
Do they rent that space out?
Oh,
They do, you know, I have some rules.
Sure, but that's probably not one of them.
No, like no alcohol, those kind of rules.
Sure, but I mean, he's
Sure.
not speaking if you
Sure,
rent
but
the
they don't have
facilities.
to,
Right.
right.
It's not contingent upon him performing something.
No, I don't
Right.
believe so.
That's where I was. you know,
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but I'll have to verify.
Okay, that would be great, thank you. That's
Okay.
it for me.
We have a guest. Did you want to speak to, okay. I gotta read.
Whenever you want.
I'm on selectmen's concerns still.
I don't have a concern, but something I definitely want to bring up and really make sure this is on tape. I don't know if any of you guys have heard, but it was a very active weekend in Sangerville. We had a life flight situation, which,
Oh.
so I'm thinking that's actually is okay, but, down on the pond, one of the camp owners witnessed a kayaker flipped.
Center pond.
Yeah, on the other side of the pond. And, you know, had been on, was watched, noticed the kayak was out there, obviously not knowing exactly how long or whatever. Was watching, trying to get out, couldn't. They called 911, and one of the other camp owners, even in the temperatures it was, went all the way across the pond in his kayak. And actually saved the, when he got there, I mean, he was in the water, so they got him out. Sangerville was there, Dover Cold Water Rescue was there.
And then the fisheries, I think.
Yeah, Inland Fisheries ended up being there.
Wow.
So they ended up getting him into shore, and that all worked well. And then the kayaker, he was gonna go kind of around the pond instead of going back across, because it was very windy and choppy. By doing so, which hindsight worked out very well, because the person's sister decided to swim out to save him.
Oh.
Nobody even realized they were out there, and he got over to that point and she hollered. So he ended up helping her as well.
Wow, wow. So was it the kayaker that got flighted?
No, that was a
Oh, completely?
person, yeah, totally different scenario,
Oh,
yeah.
An ATV.
And nobody
Yeah,
got,
it's
nobody
18,
got
so-
life flighted, but the life flight did come.
Landed, yeah, coming
Landed.
down. They were swirling water when they come across the pond, they were pretty low, so,
wow,
yeah. So it's a good thing for having good neighbors.
yeah,
And actually, the same person that noticed this kayaker is the same person that noticed that camp that was on fire, was it last fall?
wow,
And they're the ones that called that in as well, so.
wow,
It's kinda nice that there's neighborly people around,
Yeah.
so it's saved.
yeah,
Yeah, the thing you mentioned to me, and now somebody else has mentioned to me, is that we need the docks in.
It's a lot
actually-
safer if the people can get their boats in.
I never thought of that, as much as we talk about this here, we need to get them in always, because everybody's coming and we know the camp owners are coming.
right.
Never once have I given a thought as far as getting those docks in for safety, but, it's
for
early,
emergency.
nobody's boats were in.
Right.
So it was literally, they were paddling, so.
Right, well, an emergency services getting
Sure.
in.
Yeah, I know, but if that were June, there'd been
Right.
20 boats headed across the lake to help.
Right.
Yeah, everybody,
right.
yeah, right there.
Right.
So, it all worked well, but it could have
Yeah.
been a lot different. for
Yes.
sure, So.
Wow,
So I'm working on getting, I think Center Pond can go in. The problem with Manhattan is somebody has to get in and the weights, some of the weights have come off the docks. They have to actually get in and hook the two together so that the dock doesn't slide away from the boat ramp. So I'm working to get somebody, maybe from Inland Fisheries, maybe from Dover Fire, I don't know, somebody that has a wetsuit to actually get in because nobody wants to get in this time of year.
how deep is it though? I mean, cause I put my duck on, I put my waders on,
I think at the end, it's probably gonna be,
up to here?
yeah.
Oh,
And you gotta reach all the way down there.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Billy Waiters.
Oh, yeah, that's right, forget it, never mind.
We'll get you a wetsuit
Yeah,
and a snorkel.
I will say that I had a report, this is an interesting report of a deer, a dead deer down on the beach.
Oh,
And,
I guess it fell through the ice.
yeah, it did. I called the game wardens and he's like, well, it's not my job, but I will be happy to go down there and do it for the town before it becomes a health issue. And
nice,
he went out and
cleaned it up.
cleaned it up for me and I was like, good, I don't wanna go do it.
Amazing it ended up at the beach,
Yeah, that is
of all
amazing.
places.
Well, I figured probably come down through there.
Yeah.
They always walked across there all the time.
Oh,
Oh, there it-
all winter long,
Yes.
they go right past, oh yeah, the whole herd.
When I go to work in the morning, I
Yep.
always slow down coming by the dam. 'cause you
Oh,
can
yeah.
see-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, they walk.
And there's probably current there, that's where the ice gives first. Interesting. Okay, any more selectmen's concerns? Item 12, executive session. Go ahead.
I'll call an executive session under 1 MRSA 4056A Personnel, Town Manager Annual Review.
And it is
Second.
second, we all vote. We're going into executive session at 13 after 5. Okay, it's 10 after 6. I'd like to make a motion that we come back into session.
And,
We
oh, go ahead.
we all vote. We're back in session. And we do have an action.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase the cost of living payment for the town manager's cost of living effective immediately for this coming year. Didn't word that
By 2.
by 2%. Sorry, jeez,
Second. Any further discussion? We vote? All in favor? I make a motion that we adjourn.
second.
All in favor? We are adjourned at 6:11.